blockhead playing our song. Come on, champ. Let's go fight some monsters.
Welcome back, everybody, to the VHS Vault. I am VHS Jason. Next to me is the great man himself, Jason Roy Gaston. And tonight, Jason, I do believe we are doing a recommendation by one of our amazing followers.
Absolutely. It was recommended that we take a look at the Hellboy franchise. After going through what I thought was mostly hell with the Superman franchise, now we're going to go through hell with an actual demon. However, I know at least two of them are really good. And this is one of them. It's Hellboy.
It is Hellboy. You know, I was looking at this, like, when this came out. And it's really interesting because it's kind of in the beginning of the golden age of comic book movies, which I consider X-Men onwards. This came out in 2004. And I'm like, you know what I mean? In that time, what did we have? We had X-Men, we had Spider-Man, we had a Daredevil, we had, you know, fairly big properties. I wouldn't have thought Hellboy would be one of those films that would get made so early on. But I think it was off the back of the director who directed Blade 2, which I might argue is my favorite Blade movie they've ever done.
It is really good, yes.
It is really, really good. Guillermo del Toro, who is a visionary. His films are amazing. Academy Award winning Guillermo del Toro. And here he is doing something that he loved, this comic book series he loved, and brings to screen one of the most memorable heroes and just characters that I think has been on cinema for a while. Ron Perlman as Hellboy. It's as good as Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Tony Stark. It's that level of casting.
I could not agree more. This is a movie that is so original and so utterly charming in its wackadoodle, don't give a complete F nature that you cannot help but love this. Every character in this movie is great. Even what's his face, the good looking guy who comes in and he's kind of like the guy that it's supposed to come
Rupert
in
Evans.
And Rupert Evans. Yeah, I can't remember his character's name. But yeah, even him, you're just kind of like he's our surrogate. You know, we're walking through, seeing things through his eyes, so you really kind of sympathize with him for
John Myers. It's a very forgettable name, John Myers. So
John Myers. It sounds like a brand of sausage. Well, early morning around the campfire, we have ourselves some sizzling John Myers sausage. John Meyer. The name may be forgettable, but the taste isn't. I have to tell a funny with this one. So I adopted my children in 2010, and I was such an irresponsible parent that I let them watch Hellboy. And they loved it. They thought it was great. And, you know, the kids didn't care about, you know, devils and things like that. They were just like, yay, big red guy, he's fun. You know, I took them to go meet Ron Perlman at a convention one time, and he gave my son a fist bump. He's like, he looks like Hellboy, but he's not red. Ron Perlman is one of the coolest people ever, by the way. Super cool. And he loves kids. Yeah. He's just like, hey, man, get right here. Yeah. Anyway, I get a call one day from my kids' school because they had asked them what their favorite superhero movie was. And my daughter said Hellboy. And I was told that was not an appropriate movie for a child. And I was like, what's wrong with it?
Yeah. Was it not PG?
There's nothing wrong with it. You know what? You're telling kids that whenever people have a preconceived notion about them, and you can, you know, that you're going to be bad and you're going to be evil, and they turn out not to be evil, you're telling them that is bad? What, they said the word hell? I'm sorry that this isn't Sunday school. Yeah. But yeah, my daughter got in trouble because she said that her favorite movie was Hellboy.
Well, she got good taste. That's all I can say.
She does have excellent taste, yes. So, Ron Perlman, my kids love you. You were awesome. Thank you for Thank you for watching. First of all, good Lord, why are you watching this? I'm on this show and I don't even want to watch it.
Well, I've got to say about Hellboy as a character, I think one of the genius strokes when they were developing him, and this obviously comes from the comic book as well, that he, for all intents and purposes, plays a 14-year-old boy. That is Hellboy's personality. He is, because he ages differently too, but emotionally he is completely outgunned, immature. So, and I think that makes such a wonderful stroke of genius to make him like that, to make Hellboy as a hero almost unstoppable, but as a dude, as you know, he's pretty flawed. Way too many cats, and I love cats. Way too many. Cats.
That is almost enough cats. He almost has enough.
But
that's gonna be me in 10 years. I'm gonna be one of those people who like, yes, there was only bones left because his cats ate his body, and that's what he wanted.
Let's shout out to our boy Doug Jones, who really brings, and I know his voice is obviously he had a voiceover done by David Hyde Pierce in this first movie. We'll talk about that further on when we get to the second movie. But his physicality and his performance as Abe Sapien, magnifique as well. I think the world really went, who is that dude? And we started to, be, showing the kind of ability that Doug Jones has as a performance. So I thought he was great as well.
Doug Jones is a gift to the world. And he is such a talented performer, contortionist, mime. I mean, you name actor. That even though David Hyde Pierce did dub over his lines, David Hyde Pierce refused to take credit because he did not want to take the spotlight off of Doug Jones. And I think that is such a classy thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. The legendary John Hurt.
Yes.
Playing his role absolutely perfectly.
Rest in peace.
And
we miss you, War Doctor.
The young guy in the beginning of the film who plays a younger version of that character does a really great job of doing.
He really does, yes.
So, and of course Jeffrey Tambor, who delightfully playing that, like the boss who's a bit evil but gets turned around, and Selma Blair. God bless Selma Blair. This was a real big opportunity for her, and probably the biggest movie she'd done at the time. So that was fantastic for her. But yeah, great cast. And it's really, this movie handled by anyone else could have been a real big dud, because it's not a complex story. Like, you don't really have to pay attention that much. It is very much run-of-the-mill kind of storytelling. And that is the same with all of Guillermo del Toro film. He doesn't make complex scripted movies. But that's not where the magic is. The magic is how he stages it. It's what he does with the characters. It's the visual style of this film. And there is nothing close visually in the superhero genre to Hellboy. And I think that's what warmed my heart too. It's so unique in its style and design and the way what he does with the camera. I just... going back, I haven't seen this film in 10 plus years. Still delighted how it's ageless.
Yeah.
And that's a choice. Like the tech is kind of still, it's retro, but still, modern.
It's almost
ways.
like a Jules Verne type of technology in this movie. And I really think that works for it.
It does. And then it just takes it out of any time and place. It's just, this is what's kind of going on. And again, Guillermo del Toro is just super smart of what he does with that stuff. But it's also great that he took the swing at making cheesy one-liners genuinely funny again. And that's where Ron Perlman as Hellboy hits him. In anybody else's voice or any other would be just a dud, but he pulls it off, and you genuinely laugh at what he does,
There is such, even though he is kind of a brat, there is such an appealing everyman quality to Hellboy.
There's relatability, strangely.
Yeah, he honestly in every action sequence, no matter how bad things are going, he always looks like he's in control. But anything in civilian life, his love life, friendships, decidedly out of his control. So I think that is such a great juxtaposition to show. It's like, if I'm in this element and doing comic book things and fighting demons, I'm confident, I've got a swagger, I've got one-liners. But if I'm talking to Selma Blair, it's 14-year-old boy.
Yeah, I'm stalking her from rooftops type of 14-year-old
Oh God, that was
boy.
so funny. Him and the little boy bonding while he's perving out and watching,
wolfing down cookies.
Yeah, who threw that?
Even that could have been come off bad in anybody other hand, but they just deliver it right on the right tone.
It's Hellboy has got this strange innocence about him too, and it does come with him being played as a 14-year-old boy in a 60-year-old man's body. You do get the idea that it's not, I'm perving out on the roof. What are you doing with my girl? I want to touch the boobies. It is more of a schoolyard. You can't like her. I like her. She doesn't like you. You have cooties. It's one of those things. And I will also say, Hellboy's design is probably the best translation from comic book to screen we have ever had. It is super faithful to the comic book, yet at the same time there are concessions made so it looks good in live action. It could not possibly look any better. And I think that I have not seen The Crooked Man yet. I'm saving that for later. I'm going to deflower myself to The Crooked Man later. But
we have to.
Yeah, David Harbour's Hellboy, for example, almost the same design, but they changed it up just a little bit to where it looked really bad. And I think it is very interesting that the almost less is more approach with Hellboy in this movie helped him look so good. This movie is just good looking, from the shot composition to the makeup to the technology to the creature effects. This movie from 2004, from 21 years ago, looks better than movies that are being released today. And that is just not right. Oh, look, it's a severe thunderstorm warning.
Well,
How wonderful.
There you go. Well, you must be in an area near the villains of this movie, because we should talk about the villains of this movie, which I really dug. I mean, the masked sand Nazi is a great villain, unkillable. And we get the real horror element when we see him without his mask, with no eyelids and lips. So that's so cool, and the way
how is this PG-13, honestly? Because every time I saw his face, I was just like, oh God, no. Like, I had a nightmare about this movie the first time I saw it, and it was him, like, in the corner of my bedroom eating popcorn, like, what you doing?
Well,
but he did it with a German accent. What you doing? Is there room in that bed for two? I have ways of finding out,
It's my favorite kind of genre in the way of they use Nazis and then they add supernatural elements to it. It's my favorite form of villain.
Oh yeah, because that was
really
rooted in.
Add anything to Nazis for villains, right? Because
yeah,
Nazis are just villains. But you add supernatural to it, you got a whole new cool ball game going on visually, and it's there,
Oh yeah, and there is something weirdly unsettling about what is most likely the most evil force that has ever existed in the history of mankind, trying to get more powerful through supernatural means. And I also know that it was rooted in evil, in reality, that Hitler actually was looking for stuff like this, like the Spear of Longitus. He really was looking for it. Yeah. So I don't know. I like that where it's just got as much reality in it that it makes it feasible, but it's got a lot more fantasy in it where you're just like, that's ridiculous, but he was trying to do that.
It's like the use of Rasputin, which, timeline-wise is completely out. But, just a simple line, and we go with it. It's like, well, he was shot, stabbed, drugged, da-da-da. Yeah, he's still alive kind of thing. So, and that's enough. That's enough. He's come back because the demon's in him and all that. So you kind of go with it. And that's the fun element to it as well. That's where Guillermo del Toro is so important in regards to filmmaking, because he takes scary real life and he makes fun with them. like his favorite movie in the world, which I believe he's making right now, was Frankenstein, which I believe he's making his own version as we speak.
Fun.
So he loves the classic Universal horror elements.
Disney missed a cash cow by not letting him do the Haunted Mansion movie.
Oh,
it's going to be too scary. It's the Haunted Mansion, Mickey. Yeah. It needs to be scary.
I also think the Hobbit series, the reason why it didn't work out is because you were missing his vision.
Yeah.
That's what you were missing. Yeah. But either way, like just kind of phenomenal. And I love the villains. The villains work. They're kind of cheesy, predictable, but it doesn't matter because they delivered with just so unique zest. If that's such
I like
the
word zest.
Yes, absolutely. It
makes me smell lemons just hearing that word.
Zesty. Yeah, like, you know, and
wasn't there a toothpaste called Zest? I think there was. Is either a toothpaste or a deodorant. I don't remember.
I also shout out to Carell Roden, who played Rasputin, who did a deliciously evil job. That was good. And you know what else is really great is they really take it to the edge of this movie where the Hellboy will save the day, because to me they lead you down the path where they show the prediction that they showed to John Hurt of him growing the horns and that apocalyptic setting. By the end of the film, we're getting that moment. So I think that's what I like about it too, is he leaves everything to the last moment to see if Hellboy can get away with it. We all know Hellboy's going to win, but will he? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's
cool.
One of those things. It's strangely enough, I draw parallels between this and Episode 3 of Star Wars, because
interesting.
If Hellboy was going to turn, it was going to be for love, just like Anakin turned. He was going to do it to protect the woman that he loves.
Yeah.
And I will also say that this movie ends with one of the sweetest, most in-character lines from Hellboy. Whenever Selma Blair asks him, you know, what did you say?
I said, hey, you on the other side. Let her go. Because for her, I'll cross over. And then you'll be sorry.
That's it. That is the word I'm looking for. Hellboy as a character is just endearing because he's almost like a Ninja Turtle in that he knows he can't fit in, but he wants to desperately. He is like he's that 14-year-old boy with social anxiety. And he's only good. Fighting monsters is like Hellboy fighting monsters is like a 14-year-old boy in a Fortnite battle, talking trash to their friends. Oh my God. Guillermo del Toro predicted Fortnite in 2004. The man is an oracle.
You know, they deliver something on what you were talking about, something that I know you and me have issues with in anything in the visual medium, and that is love triangles. But they handle this love triangle, because there is an established love triangle, more in Hellboy's head, or what he fears is going to happen, but it exists. It's there. And I just love the fact by the end, it's handled really well and doesn't obstruct the story or slow down the plot or the scenes in any way. But they deliver it the right way at the end, in the sense that the good guy, like John Myers, they could have easily gone, no, she goes with him, and Hellboy learns to let her go, and therefore that's how he grows as a character. Nah, bugger that. Yeah. We're going to do what we all want, because they should be together. You deliver it at the end of the film. Hellboy and her, and the fact that he's the only one who can really be with her. And and for her, like, she could be her true self with Hellboy. In fact, being on fire, and it doesn't hurt him. He don't care. Yeah. So I'm glad they deliver on that, and they don't try to, get rid of her from that.
I agree. Yeah. I despise love triangles, but I do like this one, mostly because it was the love triangle that really wasn't. Because I really don't think that Selma Blair or Myers really had feelings for each other. And I think
he did for her.
Well, I think he did for her, but she was just not into him. And I do think that a lot of the love triangle came from Hellboy's own paranoia and
Yeah.
his own lack of self-confidence.
The
And it's
emotional
such a
immaturity.
teenage boy thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like,
It is
did she
absolutely.
like me, or did she touch his pee-pee? What happened? Did she want to?
It's, like, I think it's one of those films that, it didn't cost a lot to make, Jason. I think the budget was between $60 and $66 million. And I'm shocked to hear this number because I thought this thing was a big hit, but it was not. It only ended up making $99.8 million, which means they basically broke even on this film. And also goes to explain why we had to wait such a long time for a sequel. And it's actually a miracle a sequel ever got made for this thing based on those numbers alone. But I get the feeling this thing's success is really from the DVD release and Blu-ray releases, because I think this was just, everyone I know owns this thing. I mean, my sister owns this movie and she doesn't even watch comic book films. So, like, I think it was one of those films also that is quite accessible to all audiences. As for showing your daughter at the time, I actually see, if there are some scary bits, like, there's some scary bits, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta, look, I put it this way, and I'm going to bring in some personal life here. I showed my kids pretty scary movies early on, but I also did a trick where I actually showed them the behind the scenes. So they knew it was golden syrup and red dye. So they knew how the sauce was made. So I watched a lot of those films. Completely adapted. Yeah, happy, healthy. They never killed small animals. They're happy, healthy, responsible adults. Now, on the other hand, my nieces, who I love everything to death, and they have not killed small animals or come anything. However, they were in their teenage years and terrified of horror movies and things like that. It was the unknown that terrified them. It's the reality that, I think is very, and this is a film that looks like it could be quite scary, but at the point where he could have gone over the edge for horror, and he never goes there with this film. And that's why I think it's a film for the masses. I think everybody kind of likes Hellboy.
Yeah, my parents showed me scary movies whenever I was a kid, and I honestly, the first movie I ever remember watching was Friday the 13th, the original. That's the first movie I remember watching. So I would let my kids watch, appropriate movies that were, kind of scary. I started them out with Hocus Pocus, and then we did Hellboy and a few things like that.
Yeah.
Poltergeist.
I don't know what we started with.
Poltergeist is such a great, wholesome family movie. It just happens to also be pants-crappingly scary. But my kids are adopted, all right? All four of them are adopted. Mm-hmm. And whenever they came to live with me, one of them was 6, one of them was 4. And the first one, whenever I said, hey, do you guys want to watch a movie? One of them said, can we watch Michael Myers? Like, what? I watch Michael Myers all the time. I love Michael Myers. We ain't watching Michael Myers. Sorry, you ain't ready for that. But I've seen it already. There's a reason why you're not with your original parents anymore.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know.
He definitely wasn't referring to the Love Guru or those.
No. Well, honestly, I'd let them watch Halloween before I let them watch The Love Guru or Cat in the Hat. All respect to Michael Myers, but damn.
Dang.
What were you thinking?
No, this was a good look. I absolutely really appreciated going back and watching this film. So thank you to the wonderful supporter who let us down this way, because I probably wouldn't have gone back to the series. I honestly, if it happened to be on streaming when I walked past the TV, I would have sat down and watched it. It wasn't something I would have actively gone back and watched, just because there's so much damn content out there. But gee, I'm really glad I did, because this was delightful to watch. I had such a great time watching this, and it made me actually put myself back in that period and think about the 21 years that we've had since then, and the sheer amount of comic book films that have been made in that time. Yet this still stands from the pile of movies, stands tall. So awesome stuff.
Absolutely. It's one of the best comic book movies ever made. I mean, it is just a step or two away from being a live action comic book. This is what I think, oh my gosh. Who directed the first Hulk movie?
Ang Lee.
Ang Lee, thank you. This is what Ang Lee was going for when he directed the Hulk, with all the split screens and everything.
Yeah,
just something that is patently ridiculous and yet brought into the real world in a believable way. The balance that was hit in this movie, to me, is such a sweet spot that I can't believe that they actually did it not once but twice. And I may be jumping a gun here because obviously we're going to be taking a look at Hellboy 2 down the road, but it's just fantastic. Everything about this movie works. I don't really even think that there are any overly weak links in this film.
No. I mean, yeah, the only thing you could pick on is that actually what you could praise it for and pick on it would be a couple of shots of CGI.
Yeah, but it's 2004.
But you praise that because they made this film for what, between $60 and $66 million dollars, and it looks like $150 million.
It does. Film. It looks great.
It was bang for the buck. He brought scale. He brought really interesting designs. So yeah, it's that is the only weak link I could think of. It's a stellar film. And I'll tell you what, Jason, I don't want to give away what I think of Hellboy 2, but they're going to be very similar conversations being had in that review as well, because it was, again, just such a unique vision.
Sorry, guys, this isn't going to get juicy until we get to the David Harbour reboot.
I think we start getting a bit hateful there, but we got to give it due, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I call it how I see it, and Hellboy is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's absolutely a stellar. And like I said, you think of all those films, and you think about films that have had 3 times the budget of this film, who have delivered way, way, way less in regards to,
This means hope. It's like a river. It's in a circle. This movie has a $280 million budget. Isn't this fantastic?
Well, okay, so I'll give you a better example than that. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, trying to do something unique, trying to do something different, had 3 to 4 times the budget, and yet no real clear direction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you're writing the script on the set day to day.
Obviously, I just put out a video about it, but did you hear about the news today? And this will be dated news by the time you guys get to watch this, but it's worth addressing.
We're recording this on May 22nd, by the way.
Yeah. And they just announced that Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars have been pushed back. So you've got now Avengers Doomsday coming out in December of 2026 rather than the May. And I made a comment online and I found it was, I know what they're doing. There's financial reasons behind it. You don't go into a movie with an incomplete script and not expect delays. You've got 27 actors. You're making it up as you go along. All it took was one idea to go, maybe we should do this for the third act, meaning sets have to be built, things scheduled. So, of course, it was going to get delayed.
I don't understand how you make a $250 million budgeted film and not know what you're going to shoot. I don't get it. If anything, I think that this is why, and again, I'm saying this before, I'm recording this on May 22nd. Superman has not come out yet. I think that is something that's going to put James Gunn's DC Universe at an advantage over Marvel, is that he's got a very tight control over stories, and he's not going to let a story be made. He's not going to let a movie be made unless the script is ready.
Well, think about this, Jason.
Yeah.
Think about this. Because they've delayed it to December 2026, after Fantastic Four, there's a good 17 to 18 months with no new theatrical Marvel releases. Unless I'm missing a property here, the next film after Fantastic Four is Avengers Doomsday. And you know what's coming out in that 18-month period? Some amazing DC content.
Superman
would have come out. Peacemaker Season 2.
Yeah.
It is a hit. Everyone's going to watch that because everything they do in DC at the moment is going to be fresh. There's going to be a lot of eyes on it. You've got Lanterns coming out later this year. And the word on that is not many people are saying what it's about, But all people have been discussing with saying some of the best scripts they've ever read. So I'm excited about that. And then you've got like the following, you've got Supergirl, The World of Tomorrow, and they have they don't have to battle against Marvel at all. So it's going to be really great for DC. It allows DC to have their moment and establish their universe and give us and tell us, okay, this is what we're going to offer you. So I think it's, so what? We're going to wait now 6 months, which I bet $20 it gets delayed another 6 months, and that announcement comes out later in the year.
Probably.
But, I think it's going to be great for DC.
If there is ever a time that DC is going to eclipse Marvel, it will be after the release of Fantastic Four, it will be in that time period right there. Because it will get the conversations off of Marvel, and it'll put them onto DC. Oh, hey, did you see Lanterns? Did you see that Superman movie? Did you see that Green Lantern show?
Yeah,
it's going to be.
And everybody wins. Even Marvel wins from that scenario, because if you're making good films and there are good comic book films, people want to go and see more of that. So they'll go to the cinema. It actually helps both sides when these films are successful.
I am not about to sit here and go, I hope DC kicks Marvel's butt. No, I want both of them to be successful because the people who win is us. Whenever the quality of motion pictures is high, we are the ones who are the beneficiaries. And so anybody who's out there going, I hope the DC movies suck. No.
Why? I don't get that fandom.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Little nerds sitting in there. That's when I start to I'm a nerd, and I start to rag on those type of nerds.
See, I even have a problem with the Disney people who are just like, I hope that Snow White sucks. Yeah, okay, it did suck. But the people beforehand saying that, I'm like, why? Why do you hope something is going to be terrible? I hope it's good. I hope it's an unexpected delight. It wasn't, but what if it was? What if it was?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, the only thing I would never root for a film to fail, but there's going to be I hope there's a pretty positive outcome, and I would wish this for Disney more than anything else, to be bold enough, to be brave enough, to reopen their 2D animation studios and go back to the format they built the empire on for 80 years.
Please do. There is something magical about 2D animation, and
there is.
Now, we have had some great 3D animated movies like Tangled and Frozen and Moana.
Toy Stories.
Moana 2. The Toy Story movies, a lot of the Pixar catalog, with the exception of The Good Dinosaur, which was ass. But there is something special that I think has been lost.
Yeah.
And I know the movie was not a hit. It should have been, because if they had backed it, it would have been. But The Day the Earth Blew Up has some of the most beautiful cartoony animation I have ever seen. And I rewatched it the other day. I bought it on digital and I rewatched it.
Yeah.
And just going through it, all I could think of is, what? This is just a darn good movie that looks beautiful. And I never thought I'd say that about a Porky Pig and Daffy Duck movie.
I thought it was so brilliant because it harkened back to all those animation styles, but it felt so fresh and new.
Yes.
So visually we could recognize it, but it just felt new, like this is a new thing. And
it was retro progressive,
Yeah. So no, I mean, it's interesting. And from the superhero genre, going back to this, you get your good ones every now and again, but it's the irony, isn't it? A film like this struggles to get a sequel, struggles to get the 3 films that Guillermo always wanted to do.
Still crossing my fingers for number 3. I don't think it's going to happen, but it can happen in animated form. Come on.
But, you get films that, are horrible that got sequels, just out of perceived what they thought the audience likes.
Nobody wanted a season 2 for Velma. Nobody wanted that season 2.
What people like? Good stories. That's all they want.
Yes, that's all I want.
Just make it good. People want more of it. So
there are movies that got sequels that I don't think should have gotten sequels, but the sequels were quality. One that I can point out right now is Ouija: Origin of Evil. Because the first Ouija movie was awful. It was one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen.
Okay.
And then somebody said, hey, have you seen the second one? I was like, why would I watch the second one?
Any.
Watch the second one. You know what? Darn good movie. like actually scary, actually good.
Yeah.
It has some shots in it that just like you see it and you're just like, what? Oh God, what? they
I'll
have this,
check it out. I've never seen it.
yeah.
I'll
Okay, the
check
first
it out.
you actually don't even have to watch the first movie to watch the second one because the second one is a prequel. So you can just watch the second one.
Oh, right.
Origin
It's
of Evil.
chronologically.
Yeah, no, it
fine.
doesn't. One doesn't affect the other at all.
Oh,
And
brilliant.
trust me, you are missing nothing by missing that first movie. Another one was Annabelle. Annabelle Creation. I thought was a really good movie, and I hated the first Annabelle movie.
Yeah. I've seen all the Annabelle. I did like Annabelle Creation more, but I haven't. See, I'm a bit
Annabelle
biased
Comes Home.
towards a creepy doll.
Yeah.
What is it that I didn't like Megan though?
You didn't like Megan?
No.
What?
Megan, my wife, my real life wife. I don't mean you at all. I mean the movie didn't work for me.
But it was so fun.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the robot thing, the element that took any of my expected horror, the shocks that I wanted. I don't know. I'm also very famous in saying on the show and very famous in real life to watching something, not enjoying it, and then going back and rewatching it and then enjoying it. But it's not on my list to go back and rewatch it.
I can't wait for Megan 2.0 because it looks so unhinged. It's like oh yeah, they're going to go this way, and Megan 2.0 goes whoop. It's like what the heck? What is this Ghost in the Shell now? What's happening?
We've kind of had a pseudo request of a film that I think we might add to our VHS Vault coming up, just because he's in the news of late. And I'm not talking about him as a person. I'm talking about his films. One in particular film, Edge of Tomorrow. Now, Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat. You know, whatever they wanted to call it.
I don't call it Live, Die, Repeat. I call it by its real name. It's Mama called it Edge of Tomorrow. I'm going to call it Edge of Tomorrow.
It's one of the most fascinating stories because it has the single worst marketing campaign ever. Like there is nothing like how bad that film was.
I honestly think it would have done better if they hadn't have advertised at all.
At all, right? And then it comes out. And for me, at this point, without going back and rewatching it, it stands tall as one of the great sci-fi movies of the 2010s that was non-IP related. Yeah. Like it was his own thing and it was so original. Like Edge of Tomorrow, I want more of those type of films coming up in Hollywood. Things that are just shock you from the fact that it doesn't need to be tied to a brand. Like, we've been talking about DC and Marvel. Not everything that I enjoy has to have a brand to it. You know, I don't need to go out and buy the figure or the T-shirt. Just give me something like that. That is also like Hellboy, successful enough that I think nobody lost money, especially in the streaming sales and the DVD sales. Everybody wants a sequel for it. But I think we'll get one, but I think it's going to be one of those sequels that's 10, 15 years later. And I know if there's a script out there for it too.
You know, speaking of Tom Cruise,
we
next episode of the VHS Vault is going to be our 100th episode. And we have been teasing people about what movie we're going to do. So that's a clue for you, is Tom Cruise. But I'm going to tell you, it's not a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah, it's a clue, but it's not an accurate clue.
But it's not an accurate clue. And I know
but it is an accurate clue at the same time.
Yeah. We are going to have to tell you, we are going to tell you, but I'm going to give you a little bit more trivia. Tom Cruise remade this movie. This movie had a sequel television series that ran for 2 seasons.
No Baldwin, no Daniel Baldwin in any of this.
No. And this will be the oldest movie that we have ever done on the VHS Vault. So for episode number
and we've
1,
never really discussed it. We've established that we both have an affinity for this film. But we haven't really discussed why. So I'm really looking forward to doing our 100th episode because we genuinely don't know what each other thinks about this film and what we like about it, what effect it had on us. So, yeah, I can't wait to talk about that film, our 100th episode, which is crazy. It means we've done this 100 times.
Jesus.
And if you add them all up and base this on average, them being 40 minutes, you do the math. That's 40 times 100. That's 4,000 hours of us, isn't it? Am I right?
Wow.
Is that right? Is that right?
That is like way too
no, that's
much
way
us.
off math.
Way too much us.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody's out there going, what movie are you doing?
Yeah,
we're doing the classic George Powell movie,
Mm-hmm.
War of the Worlds, from
There's got a whole slew of our
1955, I think.
audience.
Oh,
1953, I think.
It's from way back there.
It's way back, and there's a lot of people going, I've never heard of that film.
No,
chase
sorry,
chase it down now.
Yeah, you need to get on Tubi or wherever it's at and watch it. It's a 1953 movie, and it's honestly, I think, even though it is what 70 years later, this movie holds up.
Oh yeah.
Holds up.
Yeah, you know what was interesting?
Holds up better than the Tom Cruise movie did.
Well, you know what the interesting thing about this? That film always used to play for some reason back to back in Australia because I think they liked putting fear into young people. They would also play the Orson Welles movie before playing this movie. You know that story about he in real life did a radio play saying we were being invaded by aliens in the 1930s, became this infamous story. They made a movie out of it.
Mostly made up, but yes.
Yeah, and they, you know, they did a movie about that kind of story, you know, in a Hollywood fashion. And it's so great. Oh, I love that. I think they are companion movies in some ways because it's, you know what I mean? It's a realization of, and that's what he was doing with the radio. He was just stealing that story from Jules Verne, right?
Yes.
That's what he was playing out on the radio. And then, you know, we'd then get that version. Visually, one of the most stunningly different science fiction films that could have, you know what? We'll talk about it then. It looks great still to this day. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Can't wait to watch it. Talk about it.
Be sure to join us for our 100th episode of the VHS Vault. Confetti.
Ooh,
fireworks.
Confetti.
He doesn't see it. He doesn't see any of this right now, but it's there.
I'll pretend.
Wow. It's beautiful.
See that?
Now it's not there anymore. Now you just look weird.
That's me, right? Let's get out of here. Let's finish it as poorly as we do every other time.
Absolutely. Well, before we end it, make sure that you check the video description below and become a Patreon, and you can support all this nonsense. And you can also tell us, hey, you should totally watch this movie. And we'll be like, yeah, or we'll go, ew, you know, whatever. We will do that. You can also become a YouTube channel member by visiting our channel main page. Please give money. We like money. Money is good.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. 100th episode on the VHS Vault.